keep the big shows. One set of girls and banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up. The people fed up, they hide the corruption inside the cup. Look how we evil set up. The people fed up. Every picture you take and promise you make, everything you do is about clouds. Then you come into me for I shake your hand, there's nothing to smile about. Corruption inside every sector, but when it comes to them they send you. Try investigate efficiency, right? Go talk to Baratans too. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up. The people fed up, you hiding corruption inside the cup. Look how we evil set up. The people fed up. I done fed up on the dirty water, low pressure, want scream and tell somebody. Imagine 1500 US and they're telling me super salary. I done fed up on the unemployment racism and the lie they say one Guyana. Cause when you look where the oil money going, circulate with one set of banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up. The people fed up, you're hiding corruption inside the cup. Look how we evil set up. The people fed up.
A pleasant good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening. Welcome to Over to You. Good evening to all 83,000 square miles of Guyana. And I did say it correct, ladies and gentlemen. 83,000 square miles. I did not say 83 square miles. Good night to you all. I hope you're all doing well and having a good weekend. Thus far, Shondell Griffith, June London, Carlisle Madhu, good evening, Linda Baker, good evening, Bossman Galiv, Keith Beresford, Mary Figuera, Audrey Brown, Siobhan McDonald, Rhonda Lane, good evening, Rhonda Lane. Then I'm still in the house, indeed, Siobhan McDonald, Rhonda Spencer Tom, good evening to you, Rhonda. Sandra Sargent, Brenda Casey, Miss Casey, a pleasant good evening to you. Vashti Magnot. Good evening. Patricia Graves Andy, Sandra Hanover. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Matthew Dennison. Welcome to Over to You. How are you guys doing? Lorraine Beat. Good evening. Welcome to Over to You. On this day, Saturday, February 8th, 2025. Over to You, a program for the people, by the people. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you 50 seconds to share the link, like the program. It's your program. You're the owners here, the investors. You're the guys. It's your thing. I'm just here. All right. What are we going to talk about this evening? We got a lot to talk about, obviously. Oh, my goodness. Corruption. All right. We're going to talk corruption. We're going to talk corruption in the housing sector. Shadow Minister of Housing, Ms. Annette Ferguson, should be coming in at any time. Ladies and gentlemen, at any time. Okay, we're going to talk some corruption. We're going to touch quick on Baldio. And, oh man, these guys, they're having a good time. Well, all good things. And corruption is no good. It has hurt the Guyanese people. It has hurt Guyana. Okay, there's so much corruption. We're going to discuss it. All right, no stones are going to leave unturned. It's over to you with Wayne Ceasar. You guys know I don't hold back anything. Okay, Jack Dio can't come and check my closet. There's nothing. He ain't going to find nothing. Ain't no corruption, ain't nothing. Okay, I have nothing to hide. Nothing to hide. All right. Well, we're gonna kick off, a lot of alleged corruption in Guyana, lots of alleged corruption, man, and it's glaring, It's glaring. The rich continues to get richer, the poor continues to get very much so poorer, Good evening, Honorable Member of Parliament, Miss Annette Ferguson. Welcome to Over to You, Annette.
Good evening to you, Wayne. Let me take this opportunity to say a pleasant good evening to your wonderful viewers here on the social media platform. And also, let me just take this opportunity as it's my first appearance after a long time, but it's my first appearance for 2025. So let me take this opportunity to extend best wishes to you and your family, and by extension, the over to you family here on the social media platform. So once again, it's indeed a pleasure me joining your program this evening.
Well, thank you so much, Annette. And I know the listeners and viewers are very, very happy to see you. Especially the listeners and viewers here who is trying to get a piece of land in their own country, Guyana. And
Mhm.
many have had their names on the list 20 years, 17 years, 15 years, and we could go through all different numbers and have still been waiting. A lot of people, was hoping to, accomplish that dream of building their own home and having their own piece of land in Guyana. A lot of them would have gone home to the maker also without, accomplishing that. And to me, in a country that has less than 1 million people, with 83,000 square miles, that I'm sure everyone could have about 4 or 5 house lots a piece or even more. It is sad to see such a thing. Okay, but
Mhm.
let's get rolling with what's happening now, Annette. I just want, from an overall view, I just want you to kind of speak to the audience as to what you think right now, with regards to the housing ministry in Guyana. Just an overall, performance view. What do you think of the housing ministry in Guyana and
But
what they're doing?
thank you very much, Wayne, for your question. But I'm going to be as brutal as I can. Um, to be honest, I believe the housing ministry is performing below its required standard, and the reason for me saying this is because the housing ministry is heavily corrupt, and I have no apologies for saying what I'm saying here, because even before 2020, 2015, sorry, even before the change in administration in 2015, being on the outside, you hear from different ones the frustration, the bureaucracies that one has to face whenever they go to the housing ministry. And even when we got into government, we would have seen those very complaints and those very actions were indeed truthful, what we were told prior to taking up government. And even out of government, and now the People's Progressive Party Civic has returned, they have returned with their old ways, you know what I mean? The old ways, so the corruption continues, people continue to suffer difficulties in not accessing their lands. People are placed to wait for years, and I can tell you, when I get to the Ministry of Housing in 2019, April to be exact, in 2019 of April, I can tell you, you have people coming to me with 1997 applications, or what should I say, acknowledgement letters. You had people coming to me with 1998, 1999, 2000, so with all this boast about the hundred of thousands of lands they would have given out, the reality is on the ground that many people who would have applied are still waiting. So my assessment of the overall performance of the housing ministry, if I'm to give them a rating between 0 to 10, I would give them probably between a 3.5 to a 4, right? So it's way, 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 way below the expectation of Guyanese.
Well said, honorable member of parliament. Well, I must say, you've done much better than me, because I would have given them a 0. I feel like if the housing ministry is horrible, it's despicable, And the corruption, the corruption, the corruption, the corruption. You have external investors able to come into Guyana and, you know, buy land by the acreage, whether it is 50, 50 acres, 100 acres, whatever it is, it is not difficult to get land in Guyana as long as you have money and you have that interior connection within the government, right? So, I mean, Annette, what do you say to the normal Guyanese? What do you say to the normal Guyanese that is trying to acquire a piece of land? Do you have any suggestions for them?
Well, even before I ask the question, if you would permit me to say,
Sure, sure.
the Central Housing and Planning Authority is governed by its Act of 1948. And we also have the Housing Act. And if you're to look at both documents, the Central Housing and Planning Authority, as it currently is right now, they have veered off from what, or strayed away from what their true mandate is. The mandate of Central Housing and Planning Authority is to ensure that housing is provided for working class people. So when you got people, large investors who might be friends of the ruling administration coming and buying these lands in acres at cheap rates, getting them at cheap rates, not at market value, but at cheap rates. You understand me? It is putting a strain on the authority to actually ensure that Guyanese who really need lands benefit from a house lot, whether 40 by 80 or 60 by 120 or 50 by 100. So what I will say to Guyanese, my simple message to Guyanese, I know that many of them have been waiting. They're still waiting because even though the government, before they took office in August of 2020, they said that they were going to deliver 50,000 house lots. Now, Wayne, tell me this. This cannot be factual because 52, they said, well, as of, let us say, January 2025, they would have issued some 41 plus thousand house lots. Well, I don't believe that. I don't believe that, Wayne. The reason why I'm saying this is because many Guyanese with applications 2009, 2008, I have those correspondence in my position that persons would have given to me, and I would have handed them over to Colin Kroll just last Wednesday of this week here. And I trust that he will address those documents that I give to him because I can't see 41 plus thousand people or applications you said process, and still you have people with 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. They are yet to receive a call from the housing ministry. So what I would say to Guyanese, one, do not believe the fallacies of the People's Progressive Party civic. No way between 2020 to 2024 or early 2025 has the Ali administration given out 41,000 house lots. The second recommendation I will make to Guyanese is that, I mean, if you got your application in there, it would be the responsibility of yours to go and follow up on your application. And if you know you're having difficulty, you can always inbox me. Send me a copy of the acknowledgement letters and let I get them to Colin Kroll so that these applications can be processed, because you're claiming that you're opening up new lands and so forth. So why is it that you still got numbers of applications still pending as far back as 2000? Something is definitely wrong. So all I would say to Guyanese is you have to follow up. You have to, I guess, sometime the government would be able to make contact with you so that you can go in there and get your application. Because at the end of the day, the Guyanese would have honor their side. And what is their side? They would have made their application And it's only fair for the authority now to have those applications addressed. And people shouldn't be waiting 20 years and 30 years and 25 years for a piece of land in this country. Because when you wait so long and by the time you reach 50, you think you could go to the bank and get a mortgage? No, you cannot go to the bank and get a mortgage. So my simple message to Guyanese is that once you have an application in the system there, it is your responsibility to follow up. You're encountering difficulties, just inbox me and I will try to see what I can do from my end. Because I have been engaging Colin Kroll when matters with housing come to my attention.
Well said, Ms. Ferguson, and to all those Guyanese on the ground that are listening, okay, the Honorable MP, the Shadow Minister of Housing, please, if you can, try and reach out to her. She's going to see what she can do to help you. But let's keep in mind that she's not sitting in government right now, but she's going to do her best to help you. Honorable MP, why is the process so difficult and why does it take so long? Seeing that, you know this process very well. Why is it that it takes such a long time,
I believe it is the approach this current administration has. And let me just give a little background. Because Central Housing and Plan Authority, in order for them to effectively execute their mandate, they will have to purchase lands from GECOM, because GECOM they have actually downsized in cultivating of sugar canes, right? So once GECOM give up those estates, then CHMP will procure those lands so that they can, prepare them for housing distribution. Secondly, they would normally procure lands from Ghana Lands and Lands and Survey Commission. And thirdly, let us say if like ancestral land, if persons want to give up their lands so that government can use them for housing purposes, that is another means of the authority getting lands. Good. So what normally happens is that once they get the lands, it will take some time. It takes close to 18 months to 2 years or a little more to have that particular area developed. Because you will have to get what's called it again, occupational. You gotta get the major plan, then you gotta get the occupational plan, and then they will do like the allotment after the survey is done by Central Housing and Planning Authority to determine the amount of house lots they would be able to get in this particular area. So while that is happening, you have persons who would go in there and apply. And what you find happening is that this government, while the coalition, or even before the coalition government took office, you would have had to attain the age of 21 with children, if possible, married to, with children, before you could have applied for any house lot through Central Housing and Planning Authority. But when we got into government, we said, no, if at 18 years, you're an adult, you get driver's license, you get your ID card and all kind of thing, why you start working, why is it that Guyanese cannot apply for a piece of land at age 18? So we would have had that a part of our policy. So what this government did when they came back, they reversed everything. So they gone back to the age 21. So what you will find happening is that you will have a lot of applications in the system there, but you don't have the amount of lands at the moment to take off some of the applications, because in some cases you may have one housing scheme that you'll only be able to satisfy, let us say, 100 applications. And mind you, within the 100 applications, applications. You got to cater for persons who would want to do commercial activities. So it's not only residential, right? So 100 applications, they might be able, or 1,000, let's say 1,000, they might be able to process. But the thing is, the reason why the wait is so long is because they have to develop these lands. Because I remember when I was in government and I was at housing, we had procured some lands in LBI from Lands and Survey. We got some lands in Annandale, Strathspey area. We got some lands in Prospect. And what we had done, we had started to do the occupational plan, and the survey and everything was done. And we'd already started to allot the give out the we call it they distribute lots, but persons could not have access on the lands immediately because the area had to be upgraded in terms of infrastructure, roads, water, electricity. So we said to the people then in 2019, you wouldn't be able to access the lands until 18 months. So we were practical, but there's one factor. The other factor too is that what you find happening is that you got more than one person's, more than one, or let us say, sorry, one person getting more than one house lots. And I have seen that because when I was minister and I visited an area, I did an outreach or a walkabout in the Perseverance area on the east bank of Demerara. A young man with a young child came to me. He said to me, Minister Ferguson, can you assist me? Can you process my application? I applied since 2010 and I have been waiting. So 2010 and 2019, this guy approached me. So 9 years he has been waiting, right? 9 years he has been waiting. So I turned and I asked him, so where are you living now? He said, look, I'm living in one of these houses. There's it 1,000 houses that Afan Ali had built when he was Minister of Housing. So I then asked, you paying a rent? He said, yes. What is the rent cost? The boy said $50,000. I said, so where is your landlord? The landlord got a property in Georgetown. So you understand what is happening? So that is why you have the huge backlog in applications. That's why people are waiting so long, because what you find happening is one person got 5 and 10 lots in their name. It may not be in their name. It might be in a family name or in a friend name. So they're going to wait until 10 years, because if you go to many of these housing schemes, you'll find that not 100% occupancy, you won't find 100% occupancy in housing schemes. Reason being, Wayne, is that I'm using you as an example. You might be living in Pleasance. You got a piece of land that you don't really want, but you were able to purchase it from Central Housing and Planning Authority for $500,000, let us say, in Providence. But what you find happening, you will wait. You build nothing on this piece of land. You didn't develop this land, nothing. But you will wait till 10 or 12 years. 10 or 12 years after to sell that land for millions of dollars. So you purchase it at first price through Central Housing and Planning Authority for $500,000. But 12 years after, you are now selling that same piece of land for to buy 80 or 50 by 100 for 20 million, 30 million, and 35 million. That is what is happening here in Guyana. No, you run Facebook. You ain't gonna believe me, but run Facebook.
No, you're right.
Lands are being sold at market at huge prices in many of these very housing schemes that have been established by the Central Housing and Planning Authority. So that's why you're having the huge backlog. That's why applications are not being processed in a timely manner, because of those same factors I have just illustrated.
And to be honest, MP, when we have one individual, and you talk about the housing schemes not being fully occupied, And I believe that one of the reasons why those housing schemes are not fully occupied is because sometimes you, as you said, and you use me as an example, you have one person who owns about 5 or 6 lots in that housing scheme, lives somewhere in a big, fabulous house in Georgetown, and is renting, right?
Mhm.
So you have to wait for occupants. You have to wait until you can find occupants who's willing to pay. Like you said, a young man is paying $50,000 a month. That's a good little sum right there. You
But
know,
that,
for a young man with a child,
sorry, that was back in 2019. I could imagine.
what it is today.
I could imagine with the high rates that real estate is carrying in this country, that 25 by 30 that he was paying 50,000 for must be now close to 200,000 a month. I could only imagine. I'm not exaggerating, but I'm telling you, that is how rental is going in this country.
So
The other,
basically, the normal Guyanese is priced out of his own country.
exactly. And the other thing where you find happening, Wayne, Central Housing and Planning Authority, they're building these 25 by 30, 25 by 30, yeah, houses, these small houses, 2 bedroom. And I can tell you, go to Great Diamond, go to Fort Ordnance in region number 6. You go to many of these housing schemes that they have started to build these houses. Many of them are overgrown by huge bushes. You know why? Because people are not buying them. That's one. Secondly, even if I am pre-qualified as an applicant and I go to the bank, Wayne, I cannot get a loan because why? My salary cannot afford a monthly mortgage. So what you will find happening, I am being denied, so I left hanging. So the authority might move to the next applicant. And so you would find like a domino effect because many persons cannot, they're willing to pay a mortgage. But because of their salary scale, they're unable to get approval from the banking institution. That is why I guess you heard the leader of the opposition is touting this whole idea of rent to own.
I
Where you
was
would
going
have
to go.
person
That's exactly where I was going to go, Miss Ferguson.
well, I was
This
caught.
rent to own, yes. This rent to own proposal by the opposition. I totally love it. Okay? I love it. When you talk about poverty, okay, and putting mechanisms in place to eradicate poverty, when I look at the rent to own, it is perfect.
Yes,
Okay? It is a great idea. It's an excellent start, that people can rent. Rent, and once you're finished paying off the cost, of putting together land, putting together the building and everything, you own it.
yeah, because Wayne, let me tell you this, if I may. I, as an individual, I have a mortgage because I took out a mortgage. And I can tell you, you gotta find legal fees, you gotta find insurance, life insurance, you gotta take out even insurance for the house. So life insurance policy, plus you gotta take out insurance for the house, right? Plus you gotta find legal fees before the loan is processed. And I can tell you, many Guyanese cannot afford them kind of thing because the legal fees is no easy money. I guess it depends on the amount of mortgage you intend to take, right? But what the opposition is proposing, I believe it is workable. And any government that really has its people at heart will try to adopt and run a pilot test to see how best such an initiative can work. So people went to the bank, you bill, let us say 100 houses in Great Diamond, and only 20 are currently occupied. 80 is unoccupied. You send those 80 who might have been pre-qualified to the bank. When they go to the banking institution, they're being disapproved because of the explanation I gave earlier. Right. So what the government will do is create a mechanism whereby we will put you in the houses and cause you to pay a monthly. So if you had to pay the bank a 50,000 and you could pay a 40,000 when the month comes, you allow the people to pay that money, set up some special account, whether at housing or with some banking institution, and say, well, look, this special account is basically for persons who are paying the authority like a rent. So when you finish paying your rent, when you finish paying for the full house, the house becomes yours. You understand me? The house becomes.
But Ms. Ferguson, with all the oil revenue and the position that Guyana is in today, you can create a government program that can subsidize, a percentage of that mortgage. Let's say maybe for the first maybe 10 years or whatever it is, depending on the length of the mortgage period. The government could subsidize that and kind of help that person through a period. And look. Right now, with free university education and all these different things in place, it put Guyanese in a much better position now, providing, Ms. Ferguson, that government is able to continuously create jobs. Exactly. Right? It put right. So the future can be bright. But to me, the biggest thing is to kind of kickstart everything. Right? Because you got to have the right idea. And I believe that you guys in the coalition has the correct idea with this rent to own. That's a great start there. All right. When we're talking about poverty, that's a great start. And then the other thing here is free university, nursery to tertiary being free. That can help to eradicate poverty. Now we have to have consistent job creation in Guyana, because when you matriculate from university, you have to be able to walk into a job. Because if you're not able to walk into a job, well, we're in the same situation. And I'll be honest with you, not trying to give you guys in the opposition a feather in the cap, but you guys are better suited. You guys are better suited to govern Guyana. You're much more to me educated than what we currently have here. I think you just have a group of people that is just managing the country on the go. You cannot manage a country on the go. It's not a business. You got to have a plan. You have to have a vision. Particularly when you're dealing with a large sum of people, you got to have a vision for the people. When you have a country that have 48 to 53% of the people living in poverty, you got to have a vision for those people, because it tells you that most of your people are living in poverty. Right? And you have been the fastest growing economy for the last 5 years. So I don't see the connection. I'm not seeing the connection. So I think, Annette, one of the things that you guys in the opposition needs to be working on, particularly on the ground, is to really sensitize and edify the young Guyanese on the ground as to really what's happening. Because I feel like if young people in Guyana, they are very disconnected. And that's going to be a very, very large portion of the voting bloc. And I think you guys need to capture them. Because with all honesty, we can come and we can talk about corruption. We can talk about the PPP, how much we like. Nothing is going to change in Guyana until there's a new government. Nothing is going to change. I believe that.
And let me say this. Even though the opposition has proposed such an idea, right, of rent to own, they're making this thing a mocking stock. They're laughing and all kind of thing. You see, as you rightfully put, when you got people who think outside of the box, the People's Progressive Party Civic don't like that, because thinking outside of the box, bringing a new variable into the equation would more or less open and wise up the minds of Guyanese. And it wouldn't work in the best interest of the People's Progressive Party Civic, because remember, their modus operandi is always to keep people in a what should I say, in a backward position. People must not be able to reason things for themselves. You know, that is why they don't want the opposition. They don't give us airtime on NCM. They don't give us airtime
Wait,
on.
Annette, if you can pause for 1 minute there. Airtime on NCM. Okay, I'm gonna say this. The opposition should have taken the PPP to court on that. Okay, the opposition should have taken the PPP to court on that. And while I'm at that, I'm gonna also say this. Let's see, all opposition parties, okay, should come together and also should have already, I didn't see it happen as yet, all stakeholders should have came together and taken GECOM to court already. Okay, so we're playing from behind here. I know you guys are good thinkers and everything else, but come on, man. You guys got to start outthinking me and outthinking the other social media activists, man. Okay? Why is GECOM not in court? Why is GECOM not explaining, okay, why nothing was done from 2020 to now with regards to a voters list and biometrics to mitigate rigging? Nothing was done. Nothing. You have one woman there, Claudette Singh, sitting down like if she's a judge, making decisions. Well, that's not acceptable by the Guyanese public. That's not acceptable, and there can't be any elections without a clean voters list and biometrics. They should not be.
Well,
they should not be.
Well, Wayne, that is the position of the combined opposition, the AFCs on record calling for a clean voters list and biometrics, and also the People's National Congress reform. And I think at his presser yesterday, the leader of the opposition would have, I think, sent a very strong message to GECOM. So let's hope that in days and months to come leading up to the GRE of 2025, that they get it right. They must get a house in order. They must get a house in order, because all that is playing out right now, and every Guyanese, every right-thinking Guyanese know that the People's Progressive Party Civic, they're hell-bent on rigging the 2025 elections.
Well, you know something, MP Ferguson, and that was well put. That was well put. But here, I'm going to beg to differ with you. Not too much, but I will differ on you on this. We are not hoping anything. GECOM has to get their house in order.
Yes.
Okay? They're an autonomous body that is there to serve the people of Guyana. And we are not going to tolerate any Guyana Elections Commission being undemocratic. We, the people, will not tolerate it.
Yeah, because I must let you know, and you're right, the people of Guyana should not, because taxpayers' money are being used to fund GECOM. And I can tell you, just for the 2025 budget, we just approved in the National Assembly some $7 billion for the Guyana Elections Commission. I think it's either 7.1 or 7.5 billion Guyana dollars. We, the people's representative in the National Assembly, would have approved those monies. So they can't say that funding is the issue. Funding is not the issue. What we are on record calling for is that GECOM needs to get their house in order. Let me tell you something. Coming out from the national recount of 2020 or the elections of 2020, the EU observer mission made several recommendations. GECOM should be free from political interference. There should be changes in the hierarchy at GECOM. There need for clean voters list. And I can go on, I can go on because they made several recommendations, right? They even spoke about, elections campaign legislation, because political parties must be able to say where they're getting their campaign funds from to run their campaigns. They said that we must have legislation to that effect. CARICOM made their recommendation. The Carter Center made their recommendation. And we must never forget, Wayne, we must never forget in 2015, after the People's Progressive Party lost the elections, that they were attempting to break through Google Budo. We mustn't forget those things.
But Miss Ferguson,
that there is need for clean voters list. Steve Surajbali must go, the then chairman of GECOM. He spoke about biometrics. So what has changed from 2020 to now, 2015 to now, my brother? What has changed? The same things that they asked for in opposition, we are now asking for it in opposition.
And, well, they asked for it. Now you're asking for it. Claudette Singh is saying no. So Guyana hasn't progressed anywhere.
No.
Through two administrations, probably through more, but I'm going to just use the last two. And we need to see progress. There is going to be progress in Guyana. There is going to be progress. Look, we're dealing with a different dispensation of Guyanese now. We're not dealing with the Guyanese from the 23 years. We're dealing with a different dispensation of Guyanese, okay? And their position is that there must be a clean voters list, mandatory. There must be biometrics, okay? Claudette Singh, at the stroke of her pen, is not going to punish over 50% of Guyanese for another 5 years. It's just not going to happen. We are not going to allow it. We are not going to tolerate it. Enough is enough. The rubber has now hit the road, all right? And the Guyanese people are not standing for no more nonsense. Yes, alleged corruption. It's not alleged corruption. There is corruption in Guyana. There is widespread corruption in Guyana in all sectors. It is glaring to the eye. As an accountant, I can see it. It is right there. There's massive corporations that is building in Guyana, and you're not being able to see how these corporations would have sourced their capital. We need to see that. That needs to be public knowledge. Okay? We need to stop being backwards in Guyana, and we need to move this country forward. For a country that has the fastest growing economy, you know, it looked like if the country is being led by a set of dunces because the people continue to struggle. We are not seeing progress.
You know, when excuse me, I sure before the end of this program, I would like to share something on the housing ministry, how these people would have given out lands even before the change in administration in 2015. But as you touched on corruption, it would be good for me to bring to your viewers' attention something that I have been really following. And this is the 12-story office complex that the Parliament of Guyana or the National Assembly would have approved between 2022, 2.6 billion in 2022, 4 billion in 2023, another billion in 2024. And just for 2025, they came to the National Assembly for another billion, bringing the total sum to date to $8.6 billion in within 4 years. And let me tell you this, this project is through the Ministry of Public Works. This project, when Edgel came to the National Assembly in 2022 for the monies, he said the construction will be done somewhere in Kingston. Then suddenly it shifted in 2023 to some plot of land in on the Mandela Eccles stretch. Then in 2020, late 2023, early 2024, we heard that it will be some 1 km from where the second roundabout is.
Is this the administrative building you're talking about?
Yes, I'm talking about the 12.
Okay. Yes. Go ahead.
And I can tell you, a day like today, because the opposition, we drilled him last week. You come into the house for more monies, and up to a day like today, you can't even see a foundation. Don't come and give excuses that materials are being fabricated in Turkey, somewhere in Colombia, and I'm trying to remember the 2 other countries that he called. Now tell me, 4 years and none of these steel can land here in Ghana? After 4 years, something is definitely wrong. And I believe, and I have been asking the question, putting it out there, whether some of this money is funding the Sheraton 4-Point Hotel. Because, Wayne, the reason for me asking or putting such a question out there is that I have seen the very contractor, Green Builders Inc., who has the contract to build this 12-story office complex, is the same contractor that is building the Sheraton 4-Point Hotel along the Mandela Eccles stretch there, just before you get to just where you pass the first roundabout, the Eagles roundabout. Now tell me, with no foundation, with no materials on site, Wayne, many buildings across the city, you got a King's Hotel coming on stream. That started long after the assembly approved the first set of money. That building is close to probably 75%. 75% of structure is in the air. A 12-story structure for King's Jewelry is in the air. You got the breakdown station. They already got a steel going up for this new modern looking facility. You got Aiden Best Western or whatever at the corners of Ornock and Rob Street. Commenced construction after, and their construction have been completed. What is happening? Something is definitely wrong. So when you ask for these monies, who got these monies? How much? When the work will really start, you're getting the answers that you're supposed to get. So I believe that this particular project is shrouded in high corruption, high corruption. And this is one project I don't intend to take my eyes off, because you know why, Wayne? It is taxpayers' money that are being used to fund these projects. This is what is happening. So when you talk about corruption in all the government ministries, and
the private sector. It's in the private sector too, where government is connecting with the private sector and funding. It's all over the place. It's going to be quiet and undertaking to eradicate that. It can be done. You know, I would definitely like to be a part of the eradication process. I would tell you guys to sew up all the orange suits, because a lot of people would be marching to jail if I have my say. And I say this, Miss Ferguson, and listen, I believe that there are a few on the opposition side also is going to be found wanting. I'm saying this. All right. I'm saying stay clear, everybody. Stay clear, because when Wayne Ceasar is coming through, look, if you're guilty, you're guilty. All right. It doesn't matter who you are. You're guilty, period. But let's deal with this thing that you're talking about, you know, with these hotels that are going up, this administrative building that we can't see a foundation for, and all these different things. And when you speak of these things, the first thing I think of is your budget. Now, you have a budget in Guyana. Now, Annette, I'm going to say this to you, MP Ferguson. I disagree with how budgets are put together in Guyana. I believe that all stakeholders should be involved, right? The PPP should be saying what they like in a budget, but also the opposition before the budget is even presented to the public. I'm talking about before it's presented to the public. The PPP said, hey, we want 53 or 60% of this budget to be infrastructure. The opposition should be able to come in and say, hey, man, we want 30% of this budget, or at least 15% of this budget to be allocated, directly dealing with the Guyanese people. We would like them to have a cash grant every year. It should be an agreement. So when you guys come, you guys present together, agreeing with it, right? Agreeing with that budget, right? I believe, look, this is just Wayne Ceasar's opinion. I believe that is democracy. Okay? That is engaging your opposition. That is not bullying them with one seat, majority. Okay, where you set the budget and said, this is what it's going to be. You guys could come and talk cheese after. We're not changing anything. Right? And that is what's happening right now in Guyana. But let's move past that. So we have the budget. We have the different heads. Okay, we're allocating this amount, to education and all these things. Okay, when you allocate, there's a large sums of money that is being allocated. Okay? After that allocation, then you have a breakdown to the different projects that the monies are going into. That's where the Public Accounts Committee comes into play, that I feel should not be in existence. I believe that is something that you need to have an external agency come in to monitor, because look, I'm talking about ways that we can eradicate corruption, and we could have proper checks and balances here, because the Public Accounts Committee right now is not making any sense. It's a waste of the taxpayers' money. They are way behind. They haven't been meeting. We're not getting anything done. I don't even think that they start on the first year that the PPP has been in government yet. I don't believe.
We haven't.
You see that? And that's not good. That is not good. That is horrible. I cannot believe Guyanese could sit down and accept that.
Well, Wayne, if you may pause a bit, this is what is happening in the National Assembly is no fault, and if I can be specific here, is no fault of the opposition. And because you would recall that what the People's Progressive Party did, they moved a motion to change the quorum of the we call it again.
That should have been a court case,
the committee, and
that should have been a court case, Miss Ferguson. That should have been a court case. That the move to make that change, Miss Ferguson, to make that change there is to open the door to corruption. It's to open the door that they can do what they got to do. We're not going to meet. So that's going to hold up. We're going to be in the Comrade Granger years for the next 10 years. Okay, while we do what we want to do. Right? I understand you, and I'm not blaming the opposition. I totally understand you. I'm not blaming the opposition. But what I'm quick to say, I want to see some people in handcuffs marching to jail with what would have happened to the Guyanese people. Okay, I am angry. I am very, very upset. All right? I want to see people going to jail. That's what I want to see. Continue, Ms. Ferguson, please.
Yes. So it is the intention, and it's a deliberate one by this current administration to stall the work of the Public Accounts Committee, because they are of the view that corruption, the flouting the laws and all kind of thing. So to get to their years from 2020 September to now, it would really, really reveal a number of things, that actually happened under the watchful eyes of this Ali administration. So it is a deliberate tactic by the government not to have the public accounts meeting, though the opposition has the chairmanship of the committee, and at every meeting our members are present. But
Ms. Ferguson, I'm sorry to interrupt. You just said the opposition have the chairmanship of the Public Accounts Committee, right? And it is that same Public Accounts Committee chairman who I see goes and shake the hands, okay, of the installed president. Now, wait. I have no problem with him shaking the hands of the installed president. But at the same time, you laying the words for the people of Guyana. At the same time, you put in a word. Look, this can't be all Johnny come live happy. I can feed my family 4 or 5 square meals a day. Look, the Guyanese people, many of them can't do that. Many of them can't do that. Okay? You sit in that position as chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. You need to make sure that you are executing on behalf of the Guyanese people. I don't care who you be.
No, but
I do not care who you be. I think it's Jermaine Figueroa. Jermaine, you need to get that right, my friend. Guyanese are punishing.
Wayne, I am not here to defend anybody. But I believe my colleague, who is the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, has been doing keeping his side of the.
Ms. Ferguson, we want more. Ms. Ferguson, we want more. The Guyanese people want more. 23 years, 5 years relief, and now another 5 years, fastest growing economy, nothing. Something gotta give. Something has gotta give. The people are getting impatient. They're getting very impatient.
I hear you.
And I'm not putting it on you, Ms. Ferguson. I know you work. I know you do your work. You're in contact with me a lot. So I know this. But the Public Accounts Committee has been a major failure. It's been a failure to the Guyanese people. I believe that Jermaine Figueroa, MP Jermaine Figueroa, is the wrong person to have there. You need to have somebody who's ultra aggressive. We need to get things done, period. I could have never been in Parliament. That Speaker of that House would have had so much issues with me. So much issues with me. There's so much. You have your Vice President coming to Parliament and telling you guys that he's here to the clown show. There's no bigger clown than that Vice President. He's the biggest clown on Thursdays. That comes out and talk a bundle of garbage. We don't want to hear that. The Guyanese people don't want to hear that anymore. They're sick and tired of that. We need Guyana to move forward. Okay? We need equity. We need to see equity for the Guyanese people. Everybody's coming and drilling and pumping out our oil and taking everything. You know, people are afraid to talk. Nobody don't want to talk. I'm going to bell the cat. That's what I do. I don't care. I don't care. Yes, they cannot just walk into our country and take everything and walk right out and pay Barry Jagdeo. No, Barry Jagdeo doesn't have the title for Guyana. His parents didn't die and leave him the title for Guyana. Guyana belongs to its people. And as long as people are extracting oil and getting their big earnings for a share and can come back to the United States, Canada, Dubai, and wherever they live and live in their luxury life without the normal Guyanese getting any equity from it, it's a problem. And Ms. Ferguson, you also touched on something when you spoke about the Carter Center and CARICOM and all of these people making decisions that, yes, Guyana needs a clean voters list, amongst other things. I beg to ask the question, where are all these agencies? Where are all these people? Where are all these ambassadors now? They are looking and they're saying, okay, 5 more years of punishment for the Guyanese people. Well, you know what? This Black History Month here, February 8th, 2005, we're not going for it. We're not going for it anymore. Okay? We are not going for it anymore. Colonialism has ended. It's not going to happen again.
I hear you, my brother, loud and clear. I hear you. Indeed, a lot of wrong is happening in this country. And, I know for a fact that the opposition is trying its best. If you're to ask me if more needs to be done, I strongly believe so. It is such a worrying.
Okay, we seem to have lost the MP for now. Ladies and gentlemen, please I apologize if I'm too fired up this afternoon, but the passion runs in me. I am tired. I am really, really tired. I have not been doing this as long as the Mark Benchcops, the Norman Browns, the Dr. David Hines, and a lot of these other presenters. But I feel it. I feel for the Guyanese people. And doing this, a lot of them just reach out and they call me. So I know what they're
Hi, Wayne.
experiencing. Yes.
Sorry about that.
You're
A
back.
call
You're back,
just
MP.
came through. Wayne, you're hearing me now?
Yes. Loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Wayne?
Yes, I can hear you. I can
Hello?
hear you. I can hear you.
I'm not hearing you. Wayne, you're hearing me now?
Yes, loud and clear. You can hear me? Yes,
Yes,
continue.
yes.
Continue, MP. Continue.
As I was saying, Wayne, it is a sad affair when you have a country that our people are suffering and the silence is deafening, more so from civil society, because a country can only be as democratic once you have, not only the political parties advocating for the rule of law to be followed, but once you have the watchdog called the civil society, I believe, holding government accountable, holding political parties accountable, your country will gain to benefit. But this is not happening in Guyana because of how the current construct of the country has been set up since the return of the People's Progressive Party. Civic, you clearly see there's no police, there is no, when people go to the police, they're not getting the justice that they really need. So is everything locked, stuck, and undercover where this People's Progressive Party Civic is concerned? So I believe the only way we can have such a paradigm shift to where we really want to see Ghana is that everybody got to come out, voice their concerns, and call out upon this government. There is nothing to be fearful of. Jack Leo is just as human like you and I. You understand me? Who is Jack Leo? Is he God? Is he the king? Is he a ruler? He is just a human being, just like you and I. But the time has come for everybody to sound their voices. But people are afraid. I guess because people are saying they ain't seen the fighting spirit of the opposition, so people ain't really want to. People are saying all sorts of things. People are saying on the streets, and I believe that Guyanese, though they're frustrated, though they're disappointed, I believe when the time comes for them to make that decision, the decision will be made in the right way later in 2025, because everybody fed up with the PPP. I can tell you, I was in my constituency earlier today and engaging young people. What is really happening? How are we looking for 20 later down this year? People fed up with the PPP. I can tell you that nothing trickling down to people. You come out with a 1.38 trillion budget, but when you look at the budget, I mean, you just made mention that you're supposed to have consultation, wide range consultation, which is correct in any democratic society, right? If you want good for your people, you would ensure that the people's representative, 218,000 people, GECOM say, voted for the coalition government. Why is it that those 218,000 people representative cannot sit around a table with the government and say, well, look, this is what I want for X constituency. This is what I want for X region. Because at the end of the day, this is taxpayers' money, and our people must be able to benefit from what is rightfully theirs. So what you find in the budget, where more so, and I'm going to be specific here, the Ministry of Finance on the day capital for 2025, $400 million they will be spending in 2025 to buy vehicles. When you look at the previous years, 2024 and 2023, right? 2024 and 2023, the last 2 years, with this money that they have requested, is over $1 billion in 3 years. $1 billion expended to purchase vehicles. Now tell me, why is it that every year these ministries got to be purchasing new vehicles and equipment and furniture? When I asked the question to Ashley, saying, where are these vehicles going? Where will these vehicles be assigned? Ashley gonna tell me and the National Assembly that, oh, the Ministry of Finance purchasing vehicles for all government agencies. I said this can't be right, Mr. Chair, which is the speaker because we were in the committee of supply. I said this cannot be right. Many agencies, all the regions came before us here, and in their budgets, they have provisions for to procure new vehicles, whether it's car, minibuses, van, or truck. So how come the Ministry of Finance is now asking us to approve some 400 million to purchase vehicles for government agencies? But I believe the monies will be used as a slush fund. Elections are nearing. And taxpayers' money will be used against taxpayers.
But MP, that is already happening. Okay, all the campaigning the PPP is doing, and I'm not even going to say allege. Okay, they're using taxpayers' dollars for it. Everything that the PPP is doing, it's taxpayers' dollars. All right, that is clear. The opposition is at a major disadvantage when it comes to funding, going up against the PPP by miles. Okay, they have access to all the money in the world, basically. So I believe that the opportunity for the opposition lies on the ground with the people.
Yeah.
That's the opportunity for the opposition. Hence the reason I'm saying that, not just the MPs, it's not just the MPs in a party. There's a lot of other leaders, there's a lot of other people that makes up a party. But the bottom line is that they need to be on the ground, they need to sensitize the people, right? Empower them, motivate them. People have a lot of fear, and rightfully so. But you cannot have fear all the days of your life, because you're going to always be in fear if you don't ever stand up. You're going to always be in fear.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. But Wayne, because I guess, we might be winding down, if you would permit me to go back to when we started the program, the housing sector. And I guess many of your listeners and viewers would have noticed what played out over the last couple of days with the chief executive officer. Now the minister, Ms. Rodriguez, seems to be a part of the equation. But I want to share with your viewers that when the coalition government took office, what we did in 2015, because the report came out in May of 2017, we did a forensic audit on the housing ministry. There were several forensic audits, and the reports are out there. But for the Ministry of Housing, they did on Central Housing and Planning Authority, and also we did on the forensic audit on the Sparendam housing scheme. That's the area that Barrett has about approximately 2 acres of land. And 2 acres of land, let me tell you, my brother, could give you at least 5 house lots. 2 acres of land can give you 5 house lots. So 1 acre is equal to 5 house lots.
No. Okay.
2 acres, 10 house lots. So what you find, what they report on the Central Housing and Planning Authority from on the housing schemes. Windsor Gardens Inc. in 2014, they got 40 acres of land and they paid $9 million per acre, giving a total of $360 million. You got CARICOM General Land Development in 2014 April. They and get you could remember who was the minister. It was Efrenadi was the minister. Efrenadi was the minister. So in 2014, that company got 25 acres and they paid 9 million per acre. So you could do the maths, right? 225 million in total. Navigant Buildings Inc. In 2015, when they got their 15 acres. In May 2015, on May 15th, 2015, May 2015 songs thing to you.
Well, isn't it just before you guys? Isn't it just before you guys took over? Wouldn't that be?
Right? So elections was on the 11th of May, and on the 15th of May, some 4 days after, 15 acres of land at $9 million per acre, which give a total of 135 million, was allocated to some Navigant Buildings Inc. Then in Providence, Luxury Realty Inc. This name sounds familiar to you? Luxury sounds familiar to you?
It sounds very hotel-y, but
the very Dr. Baldio.
Oh, yes.
So in December of 2013, he got 28.8 acres of land. Guess at what rate? 5 million. 5.8 million. So the previous information I shared, they paid 9 million per acre. But this particular developer paid $5.833 million per acre for his 28.8 acres. So he paid a total of 168 million. Then you had Sunset Lakes Inc. 13th, this is 2013, 100 acres. And they paid 4 million. So you see the difference in prices, $4.5 million, a total of some 458,180,000. Then let's go to Little Diamond. You had some Ray Dan Housing Inc. 16th of March 2015, there's just a couple months before the May 2015 election. 16.95 acres at 6.9 million per acre. You see again? You see the difference?
I see fluctuations, yes.
And they paid a total of 118,650,000 for their 16.5. They had High Tech Construction Inc. They got some 20.10 acres in July of 2014. They too paid 6.9.
We seem to have lost the MP there again, but I wish to the extent that there's a new government that there would be a COI held on the land issue in Guyana, because I believe that there is major corruption in lands and surveys. It's just corruption. It's just, if we should eradicate corruption in Guyana, you would wipe out a whole lot of the rich in Guyana, because everybody have their hands in something, you know. Look, I'm just saying it looked like if corruption will have to be legalized, because it's just about everybody involved in some measure of something. And that is because under those 23 years, I believe, of the PPPC being in government, you know, they have conditioned the Guyanese people. And I've said it before, I believe, especially the African Guyanese, they were studied and they are being taken full advantage of. That is my belief. I am going to stick with it. Okay? I believe they're being taken full advantage of. And to the extent there's a new government, man, there need to be some reversal of these land deals. You just can't go in there looking to establish yourself, looking to do your thing. No, there's stuff to be done. Okay, there's a lot to be done. The people at Moko, you need to reverse that. Okay, because that place, it didn't appear as if those people were relocated or thrown off their lands to put any highway. It appears that the highway that's running through there, they don't want, when the big dignitaries is coming into Guyana, they seen any farm. No farm mustn't be in sight. We must see nice castles at the roadside to give an impression. Okay, the optics must look like if Guyanese are living rich, living well off. But when you go on the coastline, up front may look nice, but go more into the back dam. And that's when you start to see the poverty. Okay, you start to see how poor some Guyanese are still living in Guyana. And yes, Francine Cruz, that's a good comment with Roxanne George. The decision was made. She had all right to make that decision, but I'm just letting it be known that if that was me, I would have sent back those defendants to come back with proper information. I don't know who their counsel was, but I believe that counsel could have also done a better job in presenting that case. I don't know who the counsel was, but I believe that counsel could have done better with presenting that case. And as soon as you slip, you're gonna slide with a Roxanne George. You can't slip with the PPP and she let you go. No, she's gonna dismiss your case. It's obvious. We've seen it before. Okay, we have seen it before. We seem to have lost MP Ferguson, but a lot needs to be done in Guyana when it comes to corruption and eradicating it. I don't believe that the PPP team and all the people who are involved in the corruption in Guyana right now should be allowed to walk away with the wealth. I don't believe that wealth belongs to them. I believe it belongs to the people of Guyana, and it should be given rightfully back to them. Again, these large land purchases, and a lot of these companies, they purchase the land and then they resell it at 3, 4, 5, 6 times the value. I don't know where we are in Guyana with capital gains taxes, but capital gains taxes should be paid when these lands are resold at 4, 5, 6 times the normal value or the purchase value. Okay, I believe that there should be capital gains taxes paid there. I don't know what's the situation in Guyana with regards to that. But if there's no capital gains tax in Guyana, then that's a massive loophole. And with the development of Guyana, you need to establish some type of capital gain taxes. That would be good income for the government if they can establish that. And then you could also mitigate the buying and selling of these lands at such massive prices. The normal Guyanese is priced out of his or her own country. And that is not right. Guyanese should not be priced out in their own country. Okay, that's not right. I personally do not believe that the PPPC has the solutions, okay, to bring about prosperity for the people in Guyana. I don't believe they have the solutions that the Guyanese people can see equity for their natural resources that are being extracted and taken out of their country. Okay, I don't believe that can happen under the PPPC, but I say this to the opposition. The opposition needs to get more active. I'm not saying that they're not active, but this is crunch time. This is crunch time. This is the opportunity. Okay, this is the opportunity, and you gotta think outside of the box. All the members of the opposition, think outside of the box. This is not about you. Okay, you're able to do well already for your family. Okay, this is about the people of Guyana. How long more can they deal with this? Okay, I want you to think about them. Because when I come on these programs, that's why I think about the people. and what they have to go through. All right. I'm asking the opposition, I'm pleading with you guys. Okay. Let's get this done for the people. The three leaders, three main parties, PNCR, AFC, WPA. Let's get on the same page. Let's get this stuff done. Let's have these conversations. Okay? And we need to take the Guyana Elections Commission to court expeditiously, forthwith. What are you guys waiting for? Claudette Singh is not going to move. Time is going by. Time is of the essence here. Okay? Time is of the essence here. We cannot afford to go to elections with the same bloated list. Then what are you going to do? If the PPPC is able to rig their way back in, what are you going to do? The international community is getting all that they want right now out of Guyana. You know what they're going to come in and say? That the PPP has won the elections fair and square. That is what's going to happen. Do you guys want to experience that again? We got to be serious. You don't hear nothing about from CARICOM. You don't hear nothing from the Carter Center. These are organizations that should have been pushing the PPP, saying that, hey, we recommended that there should be a new and clean voters list. Why is there not a new clean voters list in place? But nobody has not reached out. Why? I'm going to tell you guys this, man. Corruption doesn't happen in one place. The corruption in Guyana is spread beyond the borders of Guyana. Okay? Truth to be told, it is spread beyond the borders of Guyana. It has infiltrated every industry in Guyana. Every single one of them. You guys name something that the PPP don't have their hands in. Name something. That's what the 23 years, that is what they were establishing. Okay? It took 23 years to build that. It is not going to be easy taking it down, ladies and gentlemen. But can it be done? Absolutely. With the right leaders in place. Okay? And once you have leaders in place that does not get themselves wrapped up and involved in corruption, then corruption can be eradicated. We need to put agencies in place so that we can have proper checks and balances. We don't have enough agencies in place. And for the agencies that we have in place in Guyana, they are not properly funded. And when you have agencies in place and they are not properly funded, they cannot be as effective as they would like to be, or as you would like them to be. So these are the adjustments that we have to make in Guyana. Is it doable? It is more than doable, but you must have strong leaders. Not any and everybody is cut out to be a leader. You have to be special. You got to have skills. Okay? You got to know how to deal with critical situations, and you have to be able to think critically. Okay? You must be able to think critically. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming up on program time, you know, but I really want to thank you guys so much for joining today. It was truly great to have MP Annette Ferguson, and I would like definitely to invite her back soon so that we can continue this conversation that we have started here today. I believe it was a very edifying conversation. Again, I got very emotional. Listen, man, I love my people in Guyana. I'll never give up on them, no matter what. You know, no matter what. We are all Guyanese. We love Guyana. Guyana is home for us, and it's going to always be home for us. We're not going to let anybody take Guyana and run away with it. Okay? We're going to stand up. I want to thank all of you for joining this evening. Yes, Victor Ben, I see you. Jamal Aziz, I saw you, man. I didn't see you earlier, but I see that you're here. Thank you for joining, Mr. Colin Barwell. I see you, Bantu King, Gloria Pod, Ingrid Carter, Karen Welcome, Yanet Elias, one of my favorites. Yanet, how are you? Good evening. Good evening to you. Darcy, Darcy Darrell 1. Good evening, Massey, Donna Massey. Good evening, Carl Miller. Good evening, sir. Riri Garway Mingo. Good evening. Francine Cruz, I see you. Good evening. Good evening. Marlon Thomas. Good evening. Thank you guys so much for joining. It is you guys that keeps this program going. Continue doing your work. Again, over to you. A program for the people, by the people. This is your program. Again, thank you for joining. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. And of course, I'll be seeing you next Saturday right here at 7 p.m. sharp in the US, 8 p.m. sharp in Guyana. Until then, I love you guys so much. Take care. Take care. So long.
Yeah, my name is Jacinti Caldata, Francis C. Vietnam, and since 1965, I become a voter. And I always place my X next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data. I have none.
You could probably, on the maritime area, give Venezuela a channel out to the sea.
Oh, Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.